Hey, welcome back. In this class today, we'll focus on core strength, abdominal center, and all that is related. Okay, sometimes we are thinking we need to really work on our abdomen, and so I just want to guide you through what's good and what's not so good about that, and then find a happy balance so we can balance the pelvis using the abdominal and your core body in an intelligent way. Let's get started.
Before we get started, if you want to learn the basics of Iyengar Yoga,
I've designed a new course, Foundational Iyengar Yoga. This course is for you if you're a beginner, if you've been practicing for a while and you just want to deepen your understanding, or if you're a teacher and you would like to be more inspired, go back to the basics. So it's a 6-week course, 18 different classes, and you'll be able to go through at your own pace.
you can find more details in the description box below.
Okay, just take a seat, sit cross-legged on a bolster, and I just want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to do today. So today's class is focused on the abdominal area, the core, our center. All right, so lately in the news, in the last few years, at least in the West, there's been more information about the abdominal area, the stomach, the core, and how it relates to the brain. So typically the West has a certain view of the abdominal area. We have gut feelings and it's all in the gut, and now there's a correlation to the brain and the gut. And then in the East, it's actually a spiritual center. It's the center of feminine power, feminine energy power, and it is an area that is central and core to the rest of the body. So it's housed between the pubic bone and the lower ribs. And everything there in that space are all of our internal organs, except for our heart and our lungs. So all of our digestive system, our reproductive system, our elimination system, every other system, hormonals, are housed there. I mean, we have some glands and different hormones that communicate with the brain and the gut, but everything is in this area. So it's important that you understand that there is some relationship between the abdomen and the rest of the body, the arms and the legs, and every movement that you do. For an example, when I had my first child, I had a cesarean section. I had no idea of the link with the abdominal area and the muscles and every part of the body. But it's very obvious once you have a cesarean section. As soon as that baby cries for the first time, you reach to get up and go. And the very breath that you take is connected to the abdominal, and there's pain. So you learn from as a beginning mother, if you've had a cesarean, that the abdominal area is so important. And of course, this is where all women, when they're giving birth, house the baby, feed the baby, and bring that nutrition to the baby. So it's an important area. It's important especially for women that we are not tightening this area too much and constricting. Many people want to have a flat stomach and they want to draw this in and always be tightening, but it's maybe not the best thing for the female organs. So practicing in a way that you're combining east and west, that full belly. If you've ever seen a picture of a Buddha, a laughing Buddha, the belly is full because that belly is connected to all of that spirituality and fullness in life. So not that we have to have a big belly, not that we have to have a flat belly either, but we have to be able to understand what's happening as we move our body. So we'll take it a little slow today and we'll build up. All right, so first I'd like you to lay down on your back and coming right down, bend your knees, adjust your pelvis so that the lower back is lengthening, and then straighten both legs. So this is just going to be a test for you to see how stable your abdominal area is. Okay, so just be observing. And now I want you to just lift the leg up and move the leg out to the side. And we're going to do that a few times. So what I want you to do is stabilize yourself so that when you lift the leg up, you notice what's happening here. Are you tilting over? When you bring the leg over, are you moving out to the side? Can you stabilize here? Observe what's happening in the left side, the right side. Okay, you can use your arms to stabilize further there with your shoulders. And then lift the leg up and bring the leg down. And again, so you're stabilizing on the left side or the right side, and just notice what you feel. And then we're going to lift up, and we're going to bring the leg over to the side, and then come back to the center. So how much of your core body is helping to stabilize you so that you're not listing over to the right? Okay, let's do the other side. So extending through both heels, lengthening the lower back. Keep your arms on the floor, shoulder blades on the floor. And descend this thigh. Descend both hips so you're balanced evenly on both hips. And then inhale, lift the leg up. Observe what you feel in the pelvis, in the abdomen. So as you bring the leg up, you start to feel some activity in the core. So just be aware of what you feel, what you don't feel. Bring the leg up again. And now bring the leg to the side. And observe, maybe the side doesn't feel as strong. Maybe this, when you bring the leg to the other side now, you're feeling more lightness on the opposite side. So observe that. Usually we have one side that is more or has less strength than the other. Okay, so come up now. Now you're going to come onto the bolster and bring your hips onto the bolster. Okay, so now you have, it's a little bit of a back bend, right? So not laying on the floor. Adjust your pelvis so that the tailbone is moving down, the top of the buttocks moving down, and be right in the center of that bolster so you can feel both hips stabilized. And then bring your legs, your arms to the side. And now, with this leg, this left leg, you're going to press the foot down, and from the knee to the hip, feel that connection there so that you use that foot on the floor to maintain the levelness of the hips, as well as this hip moving down, okay? And then you're going to reach the leg out, lift the leg up, bring the leg down. So just observe what you're doing with the left leg and what's happening through the abdomen as you bring the leg up and down. You can bring it to the floor, and then you can bring it up. Maybe you feel the muscles working all the way up below the ribs. So just notice how different it is when you come onto the bolster. And then bring the leg down. If you can bring the leg all the way up, bring it all the way up. There. And then we'll do the other leg. So bending both knees, stretch that leg out, pressing the foot into the floor, and then lift up. So here we're just bringing some awareness to your core strength. Which side is weaker, which side is stronger? How can you bring your attention, your awareness into that area to keep your hips more stable and aligned? Oftentimes we just lift a leg up and we don't pay any attention. Bend both knees. Okay, this time, straighten both legs. And without any attention, just bring the leg up and see what happens. See what happens. Do you feel any kind of stabilization through your hips? Now press that heel down, left heel, bringing the abdomen down towards your lower back, and then lift the leg. So having a sense of stability through the core and how those muscles are helping you. pressing into the heel, moving the thighs down. Raise the leg up. So if you had one side that's weaker than the other, just noticing that and adjusting. How do you need to create more attention to stabilize through both sides? Okay, so now turn to your right and press yourself up. And come onto all fours. All right, so your hands are underneath your shoulders. And here, I'm going to do, here we're going to exhale and inhale. So you're going to press your hands down, press your feet down, and you're going to exhale. And as you exhale, draw the abdomen up toward the lower back. And then inhale, drawing the air in through the nostrils, in through the lungs, feeling the abdomen move down toward the floor. So it's getting a stretch. And then opposite, exhaling. As you exhale, the pubic bone is moving toward the lower ribs, and you can feel more contraction there. So the abdominals are beginning to work. Here, as you inhale, you're lifting your hips, you're lifting your head, and the breath is coming into the belly and it's extended. And then come to a neutral position. So neutral position is still, the abdomen is not falling toward the floor. The navel is moving toward the lower back. Now stabilizing on all fours, both hands, keep your arms straight, keep your knees pressing into the floor, and then reaching up with one arm and extend out. So here you've got to press down into the opposite hand, lift up into the arm, and then extend. And notice what happens to your hips. Do you start to move to this side or some other version of that? Keep the abdomen moving up and back. Inhale. Exhale. Other side. Inhale. Exhale. One more time on that side. Inhale. Looking ahead, extend your arm, move both hips back, and then exhale. Navel toward the lower back. All right, now we're going to combine one hand and the opposite foot, so it gets a little bit trickier. So just, you want to keep that stabilization through the hips, and you're going to lift an arm, press into the other 2, 3 limbs, and then lift that leg up. Keep the abdomen moving toward the lower back, and then bringing that hand down, and then opposite, lift up, extend the leg, extend the arm, stabilize. Feel that length coming through the front of the body, abdomen moving toward the lower back, and then bring your hand down. Okay, just bring your knees wide now, bring your hips back, and come into forward Virasana. Walk your hands forward. Keep your forearms off the floor, and move your hips back. So just taking that same information about the breath, as you exhale, let the abdomen deflate. So you can feel the abdomen moving toward the lower back. It's not hanging toward the floor. Using your in-breath to bring the breath in, using your exhalation to release. If you can bring your head to the floor, bring your head to the floor. If it doesn't reach, you can have a cushion or a bolster and bring your head onto the floor. So using the breath, abdomen moving back, lower back is spreading, and then come up. All right, we're going to go into downward dog. All right, so have the hands placed well in front of you. We're going into Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is downward facing dog. You see your dog doing it all the time, or other dogs. That's the first thing they do in the morning to lengthen their spine. All right, so the forearms are straight, elbows are straight. And here you're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog, with a rounded back. So usually we straighten the back from the hands all the way through the side, trunk up into the hips. So here I want you to, on your exhalation, bring your pubic bone and your ribs closer to one another. So the back is going to round. And draw the navel back toward the lower back. So your abdominal muscles are engaged here like they were in forward Virasana when we were on the floor. And now bring your knees down. This time we're going to go into Adho Mukha Svanasana in the regular way. So your arms are straight. Come onto your toes, lift your heels up, and get that length from the hands all the way through the side trunk up into the hips. Keep the weight on the feet, pressing down. Lift your hips up. And now keep the thighs lifted up, backs of the thighs. Start to extend the calves down towards your heels. And at the same time now, bring that awareness to your abdominal area. So on your exhalation, bring the navel back. So the abdomen is not falling to the floor, but it's moving towards your lower back. So a way to think of it is the pubic bone and the front ribs are moving towards one another. Stay there for a few breaths. Come back down with your knees. And then we'll go up into it one more time. First with the rounded back. Just to practice activating the abdominal muscles, feeling how that core part of the body is key. And then exhale. Bring the legs down. Extend through the side trunk. Keeping that awareness of the abdominal area moving towards your lower back. And then come down onto your knees. Sit back on your heels. All right, now I'm going to take a couple of blocks and we're going to go from downward dog into upward dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Okay, which will create a large extension through the front of the spine. So much length coming this way. As before, we were compacting. Now we're going to do the opposite. Okay, so we'll first come up into downward dog the way that we did earlier, rounding the back, bringing the abdomen in, and then start to bring the hips back and see that length come through the side of the trunk, abdomen moving back, and then you'll come forward now. Press the hands down, keep the chest lifted, and now bring the tailbone forward. Keep the thighs lifted. So from the pubic bone, lift up through the navel, navel up through the chest. And then coming back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And we'll do that one more time. Before we do that again, let's just come into plank pose. So there's been a lot of science around this, or I don't know about a lot, but some. And what happens in the body electrically, energetically, which muscles are activated. And plank pose is showing that there's much more activity in the abdominal area than in sit-ups, okay? So there's been a lot of studies on sit-ups lately. They seem to not be as happy with sit-ups as they used to be. So this is just something to keep in mind. So coming back into downward dog. And then coming into plank, so you'll have to take your feet back a little bit further. And you're stabilizing the pelvis here. You're using the abdominal work that we did earlier to feel the lift of the abdomen and that stabilization of the pelvis. So observe what you feel. Press into the inner edges of the wrist, up through the inner arms, and lift. And then exhale, coming back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And now coming forward a bit, walk your feet forward, swing your hips forward, moving your hips down, keep the thighs lifting, so the thighs are resisting moving toward the floor. Tailbone is moving in. And then from here, pressing the arms down, lift the chest, keep extending through the legs. And exhale, coming back. You can take the blocks away and try it one time without the blocks. Adho Mukha Svanasana. As you come forward, keeping that attention through the abdominal body so it's not dropping. There's some resistance there, lifting. Use the arms, lift up, keep the legs extending up, pressing back through the heels. Exhale, coming back into downward dog. Okay, now we're going to come into Chaturanga. So we use the blocks for Chaturanga. So we'll come from downward dog. So here, we're able to lower down with gravity, so the body comes down quite easily. But we don't want the body to come down too much, otherwise you'll fall on your face. So the thighs continue to lift up. You press with your hands. You resist the chest from falling toward the floor. And the abdomen here is important. So let's take you onto your knees first so you can see that. So you'll come forward, stay on your knees, and then press up and come back. So for some of you, you may not be able to come into Chaturanga right away. So using the blocks just to begin with, coming forward, bend your elbows back, and move your chest down. So here the abdomen has to resist coming toward the floor. If you don't resist, your abdomen falls toward the floor. So you can see how important it is to keep that kind of tension, not gripping. You don't want to grip, but you want to resist the abdomen from just falling. Okay? So Chaturanga, you can practice that. You can also do that with a bolster, which will make it a little bit easier for some of you that aren't used to doing Chaturanga. You can come down, bend your elbows, and then just hover over that bolster. And then come back up. Bring your head down. And just practice doing it this way. So your thighs are supported, your abdomen is on the bolster, so you can feel the abdomen is drawing to the floor. So when you're doing it without the bolster, the abdomen is resisting moving toward that bolster. And then Adho Mukha Svanasana. So take a few breaths there and bring attention back to your abdomen. So you can feel the breath now. Breath is a bit more active. You can feel the abdominal area as it draws back and up. Okay, coming out. So you're going to come back down into downward dog. This is nice for your wrists, but it's also key for the abdominal strength. So you're going to come into downward dog, walk your feet together. And I'll show you two ways to do this. So you're still drawing the abdomen in and back and lengthening from the hands all the way up through the arms and shoulders, back through the hips. Okay, now I'm going to turn my right foot, and I'm on the edge of that right foot. And then you can bring your other foot out to the side and use that to balance. So here, your tailbone is moving forward. The abdominal area is still, the pelvis is still in action. Pressing down with the hand, reach up with the arm. So the front body and the back body at the abdominal area, at the core, need to be working together. Otherwise, the hips would be moving back or the abdomen forward. So we'll come down. We'll do it once with the foot like that on both sides, and then we'll do without the foot. So if you can manage to balance, then you'll do the second way that I'm going to show you next. Otherwise, you'll come back to this position with the foot on the floor. Pressing down with the hand, lift up. Tailbone is moving in, abdomen is moving in and back, and you're turning the chest and you're looking up. So coming down. So turn the foot. You can also take the foot here and keep the foot to the side just to balance yourself. If you can manage, you can bring both feet over one another. So here you really have to balance a lot more. The buttocks moving forward, the abdominal moving in, and reach the arm up. Make sure to breathe. Bring your hand down. Reorganize. So if that was difficult for you, you can use one of those two other ways that I showed you, either with the foot on the floor or the foot here to balance yourself. So it's important that you're pressing into the outer edge of the foot, and with that you're lifting the hips. You're moving the abdomen back and reach up. So that firmness in the pelvis is helping you with that balance and stability. So the abdominal work is core and key. It's core because it's the core of the body, but it's also key to activating the core. Okay, so now we're going to go into a seated pose. I'm going to have a bolster behind me. And just to begin with, I'll show you with a chair. So we'll use the chair here. You get the chair. So we start with the props that help us to get the right experience in the body. If you don't need those, then you practice without it. Okay, so I'm going to bring my feet up onto the chair, and I'm going to take my hands back behind me. So I actually have the backs of the ankles there. I think I could have the feet a little bit higher. Okay, I have a chair here, and I'm making it a little bit higher because in this pose, Paripurna Navasana, the boat pose, the legs are more or less as high as your head. Okay, bringing the legs up, lean back, and then take your hands under that bolster. I have the bolster here so you can see the lower back needs to be lifted. Straighten the legs, roll the shoulders back, move the navel in so the pubic bone is lifting up, front ribs are descending. So feeling that action through the abdominal area, so you can feel something's active there, but you're not gripping, okay? All right, so coming down, you can take that bolster away, and now I'm going to give you a strap. So another way you can practice, if you have a long strap, is to take the strap around the upper back. So the legs are lifting, but also the upper back, the chest is lifting. So you notice when I brought my arms back, I rolled the shoulders back, and I'm lifting up through the chest. So I'm going to take the strap there, make it a little bit longer. If you have two straps, you can strap two together. Not necessary if you're not very tall. If you're very tall, then you'll need to have either two straps together, or I'm going to come a little bit closer here. So I'm bringing both legs in, starting with the knees bent. All right, and I'm holding onto that strap. So as I hold onto the strap, my knees are bent, so when I straighten them, it will be very taut. It will pull my back. You can see here, the back is, I'm rounding into the back. So I want to bring the back in. I want to lift the chest. So I'm going to stretch the legs out. And as I do that, I'm pulling on that strap, straightening the legs, moving the abdomen in and back. Okay, so you can have the legs up, or you can take the hands back and press into that strap. So it helps to have it at the ball of the foot when you press into the strap. Then you're feeling it right there at the chest and the shoulder blades. Okay, so you're balancing just toward the back of your sitting bone, just slightly, not too far back. So you can find your balance there. And then if you have your balance, you can bring your arms up. So here, important to have the abdominal area moving in and back, lifting up. So it's not just moving back toward the lower back, but it's also lifting up. Breathe. So this is a nice way for you to practice, to get used to the action, get used to how you need to be moving the legs, how you need to be moving the chest. So paying attention to your breath, feeling the breath through the abdominal area, keep the chest lifted, and press into the ball of the foot and lift the chest more. The more you keep the chest lifted, the more you keep the legs active, the more you're able to get that extension through the abdomen and that stabilization. So that's a nice one to be able to do and hold for a while. And then, of course, if you don't need that strap after you've been practicing, you can take your hands behind your legs, bend the knees like we did with the strap, and then with the hands behind the knees, you start to straighten the knees, pressing into the hands, and pulling with the hands, the arms, lift the chest. Keep extending through the ball of the foot, and then bring the arms up. Breathe. And then release. Bring your arms forward, rest your head. Rest your breath. Rest the abdomen. Okay, coming up, we're going to do one more on your back, and you can use your strap. So you come down, your lower back on the floor, abdomen descending down, feet on the floor to help you level the pelvis. And then bring your knees towards your chest, still feeling that balance on each hip. Bring the strap onto the heels. From the heels, connect from the heel to the leg into the pelvis. And with that connection of both legs, just let the abdomen relax and move toward the floor. So in order to keep the legs up, you can either hold the strap or you can bring the arms over the head. So when you bring the arms over the head, you need to do that with that stabilization. So you can try one arm at a time, see what happens. You don't want to lift up. You want to keep that stabilization through the abdomen. Lower back is wide, and then you can bring the arms up and over. You can hook your thumbs and extend your arms out. So your front thighs are moving back, so there's some space here at the bottom of the pelvis. And with the arms, you're getting that length through the front body. And then from there, you're continuing to be aware of the abdominal area, not gripping, but with your exhalation. releasing down and up. And then bring your hands onto that strap. So you can keep your hands onto the strap, and you can start to bring the legs down. So whether you have your hands on the strap or you just have your arms above you, keeping that stabilization through the pelvis. Exhale. And come back to 90. And then exhale. Pressing out through the ball of the foot. Keep the legs firm. And then inhale. We'll do it one last time. Exhale. So we're only coming to 60 degrees. If you're practicing this regularly, you can take it down 45 and then 30. But just getting used to how the abdominal area is working to support your pelvis and to connect the legs and the rest of the trunk together. Okay, so now you're going to use a bolster, and we'll come into Jathara Parivartanasana. And this is not going to be so active, but you will be actively using the abdomen. So I'm lifting my hips, rotating my hips, and then I'll bring the legs up into that bent knee position and roll the legs over. Okay, so from here, I want to continue to keep that length, moving the hip away, and I can straighten one leg out. I can press that into the wall. And from there, you'll see this, we're doing a twist. So this part of the chest is moving this way. The hip and the leg are moving this way. And then, with your exhalation, turn from your lower abdomen towards your upper abdomen. So taking a few breaths there. And as you can see or feel, when you exhale, that part of the body that's falling toward the floor is lifting up a bit. So you're engaging your abdominal area, the core of the body, and you're turning from the lower abdomen to the upper abdomen. And then bend the knee, relax your legs, coming back to the center. And I'll turn to do the other side. So I'll use the wall again. So coming close enough that you can press that foot into the wall. So I'm adjusting my hips. All right, so I'm on the opposite side now, adjusting the hips, bringing the knees in, take the arms out for stability, then rolling that thigh onto the bolster. Just let it sink down, and then I'm stretching one leg out. So I can feel that leg at the wall. I'm pressing, and as I press, I'm lengthening, I'm lifting here. And with that, a little bit more stability there, I'm going to turn from the lower waist to the upper waist. Turn from the lower chest to the upper chest. So just feel the breath there. As you inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, turn. So just get used to feeling what action the breath is helping you to do and how it stabilizes you. Okay, so you can practice that more on your own, but getting an idea of the action required through the abdominal area is important. Okay, so now we're going to go to Viparita Karani, and we'll take the legs up the wall. So you can take Shavasana in this. So you're going to bring your hips to the wall. So come all the way to the wall. So you feel the backs of the thighs, the hips at the wall. Adjust your shoulders. So you roll your shoulders under and straighten the legs. Okay? So you want to feel the legs moving toward the wall. You can even take a strap. And the strap is handy because when you bring the legs up, you want to forget about the legs a little bit. So they're activated, but you're not really doing much to activate them. More than anything, you want to let the heaviness of the legs and the bones sink down into the pelvis. And as you do that, there's another level of quietness that comes to the abdomen. So here, because all the internal organs are housed in this section between the lower ribs, pubic bone, and the hip bones, here in this position, you're able to just release everything down. So using the breath again, let that breath soften and deflate the abdomen. And as you deflate the abdomen, you can feel the lower back is spreading. And any tension in the abdomen is able to be released as you bring more attention to that area, as you focus more on your exhalation to release. So this is a great pose to do for women, but not when you're having your period. And all of this abdominal work we've done is not for pregnant women or women that are having their cycle, women that are having any kind of eye issues or hernias, okay? So if you are pregnant, you can bring your legs a little bit wider. If you're having your cycle, you can do this kind of work when you're not having your cycle. Okay, so just allowing the abdomen to become quiet, shoulder blades are flat on the floor, and you're still getting a slight lift to the chest. Remember when we had the strap behind the upper back? So imagine that you can still feel the impression of that strap and lift there just slightly. Observe what you feel in the abdomen when you do that. So not tightening there, but just continue to release the abdomen with each breath as you exhale, going a little bit deeper. And then connecting with that core, that center of your being, that Hari. That energetic center that is key to so many of our thoughts, our emotions, and our daily life. So just giving this area a pause, knowing how this area also communicates with the brain. Just allow yourself to be here as long as you'd like. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. You have a better idea about your core, about your abdomen. So some of these may have been difficult for you. Maybe they were easy. You can continue in practice and either take support or not take support. But just be aware of how you're breathing and how you can support that balance throughout the whole body. Right? So the props are not so much about using a prop, but finding a way to understand how you're using the body in a correct and intelligent way. Okay? Nice to see you. If you want to look at some more classes that maybe touch on some of the similar subjects, look here. And until the next class, keep practicing. Good to see you. Namaste.